Welcome everyone to Upwards. This is a special edition because this week is Cyber Smart Week. You are obviously hearing a different voice and seeing a different person than our usual host. My name is Amie Finlayson. I am the growth marketer here at Onwardly, and I am joined by Phil Howie, who is the founder and CEO at Onwardly. And today we're going to be talking about the 4 security and privacy tasks that you can get done this week. So to kick off, firstly, I'm going to ask Phil, what is Cybersecurity Week and why did we partner with Cert NZ on this?
Thank you, Amie. Thanks, and welcome to your first appearance on the Onwardly podcast. Coming to you as Team Onwardly this week, we wanted to talk a little bit about Cyber Smart Week, which is being run by Cert NZ. If you don't know who Cert NZ are, they are our agency really that's designed to help people keep informed around incidents, cybersecurity incidents, and general information to protect themselves. So they work with businesses, they work with individuals, and they're really here to support us, and they do great work. They've got great social game, as you can see by the merch that kind of we're wearing and sporting this week. We've got pins, we've got printed materials, and they do some really great stuff. So we want to support what they're doing, and so we're going to talk a little bit today about some of the advice that they are putting out there, and we're going to support that and give you a kind of our own take on that and how you can do that in your world. So Cyber Smart Week happens once a year. It's a week long, and you can follow along the hashtag Cyber Smart Week.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first tip we have is to strengthen your password game. Here's our merch. Oh, we can't see it with the blur. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that, Phil?
Yeah, so strengthening your password game. I mean, I think, we talk a lot about passwords. They are the most common thing that we do to secure ourselves. And the common advice here really is to have long, unique passwords for every service that you use. So don't reuse the same password. Don't have a short password. Have long, unique passwords. How do you have a unique password for every single service you use? Well, you use a password manager realistically. So there are some great options out there, like 1Password or LastPass, and there are other options as well. Find one and use one. It's really good advice, and you can generate random unique passwords for everything you interact with. The reason why they should be unique is that if a service you store information in has a breach, that password that you use may be leaked, and people can then use that password to unlock other services that you have. So if you have a unique one, then that password will never work for anything else. So really critical to have unique passwords. And passphrases as well are good too. So they don't necessarily have to be full of hashtags and weird symbols that are really hard to type. Length is actually a better indicator of complexity than just special characters. So that's why they recommend at least 15 characters, but generate them from a password manager and go from there, and that will help keep you protected.
Yeah, and similar to that is tip 2, which is power up by turning on two-factor authentication. So that is obviously quite similar to your password. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so two-factor authentication, or sometimes called MFA, multi-factor authentication. So we're all familiar with the annoying codes that we get sent, sometimes via text message, but sometimes you put them into the apps. These are actually really important. Sometimes passwords are guessed or breached and used, but if you have two-factor authentication on, meaning you have a different way to prove that you are who you say you are, then that makes life a lot more difficult for someone trying to break into your account. So turn this on for every service that you have if possible. So if you're a business, not just your email, not just your key systems, but every system if you can. So by protecting every system, an attacker can't escalate, so they can't use a minor system to get access to a bigger system. It's really important and foundational for protecting your identity online. Also, if your business accounts are protected but your personal ones are not, then it's a good idea to turn them on for personal accounts as well. So personal email, really critical. Sometimes people can breach a personal email account and then use it to talk to people in the business. So protect both business and personal accounts with two-factor auth, and you'll be well on your way to protecting your identity.
Yeah, for sure. And that's just getting a code to an app, or it's getting sent a text message, right? To then put into, so an extra layer really of password protection.
Indeed. And I think, if you can use an app like Google Authenticator, there's lots of apps. It's a separate app on your phone. It's usually a bit better than a text message. Text messages do work. They're better than nothing. But we've had examples of people inheriting other people's phone numbers and then being able to kind of reset accounts via that way. So I encourage people to use a separate Authenticator app if they can on a separate device.
Yeah, and at Onwardly, our product, we obviously have 2FA as a default.
Indeed. So people ask me, does Onwardly support 2FA? Of course it does. It's actually on by default. So this is really important for us. It's important for our users. So we made a decision really early on in the build of the product to make sure that 2FA was just a standard part of what we do. So rest assured, if anyone who's using us, it's already on by default.
Yeah. And now our next tip is to update to full strength, which I'm sure a lot of us are guilty of not doing this. So this is a great time this week to actually get on top of this.
Indeed. So take a moment to restart Chrome. If you're one of those people that has a red update button sitting on the top right-hand side of your laptop, please just press it. Please update your browsers. Please update your operating systems. It only takes a second or a minute or two. It's really, really important. So, operating system vendors, browser vendors, any other software, it's really important to keep that up to date. And ideally, if you can toggle things to automatically update, that just sort of happens without you having to worry about it too much, then that's even better. Software is really complex, and sometimes security holes are discovered in software. And so they're patched quite quickly, often by vendors, and it's really important that you take those patches and apply them to whatever you're using. If you're writing software as well, which many companies do, obviously this applies to all of your dependencies and your code libraries and things like that. So it's really important to make a habit of regularly patching those, if possible, keeping on top of those updates so they don't build up and become a major headache further down the road. I'm sure we've all been there before. Update things as regularly as possible. This is super foundational and an important part of just keeping the organization safe.
Yeah, and it's not just about updating things so you can get the latest updates and features. It's really about protecting yourself and your organization as well.
Correct, and that could be a side benefit, obviously, of keeping up to the latest. But sometimes, there are older libraries, older versions of things just stop receiving security updates altogether. So you're actually sitting there and becoming more vulnerable over time. So what we do at Onwardly is we make a habit of really just regularly upgrading our libraries and dependencies so that we don't build up a really big delta that's hard to fix further down the line. I've worked in software stacks where we're 4 or 5 versions behind, and it actually becomes a real problem to update, almost impossible to do without down tools for months at a time. So regularly update things. There will be a little bit of work in doing that, but you keep yourself safe. You inherit all the latest security features that they have, and it's just generally good practice to do so.
Yeah. And once you've done it, encourage other people on your team to do it as well.
Make a culture of it. There's alerts and things you can subscribe to. GitHub has some really good ones around your dependencies. So just make a culture of, set aside the time. Maybe it's once a week, maybe it's once a month, or whatever your cycle is. Set aside the time and just do it. Make it somebody's responsibility. Incorporate it into your workflows if you're building product, and then it won't be this big thing you have to find extra time for. It's just part of the way you work. Much like writing tests, if you're not writing tests, it's just part of the way we work. So,
yeah, definitely. And then we're coming to our last tip, which is to boost your privacy defense. Tell us a bit more about that.
Indeed. So I think this is important, on a personal level and in a company level. So I think what CERT are really advising here is to set social accounts to private by default, to limit the amount of personal information you're sharing with the entire world. In the sort of early Wild West days of social media, we just sort of published our entire lives online without giving it much thought. Now, I think our thinking has become a little bit more sophisticated. So, setting Instagram accounts to private by default, and just limiting how much of yourself you just put straight online, which will be there forever and is available to everybody in the world. I think that's smart. In terms of, limiting who can contact you and the messages that you receive as well is really important, particularly for the younger folks amongst us who are just sort of getting into this world. From a business point of view, privacy is about also the information that you hold. So you hold private information of individuals, often of end users, of customers in your systems and in many systems that you control. So this is a reminder to take a look at your privacy statement, your external one. Make sure that you're being really clear about what you're collecting, what you're using it for, where it lives, and what you intend to do with that information in the future. People have a right to know, and it's just good practice, and it's doing right by the people that you have information on. So a really good reminder to take a look at that, think about the information you're holding, and make sure you take good care of that.
Yeah, even at the most basic level is just knowing your data, knowing what you're keeping and why.
Knowing where it lives, knowing what you have. Many companies would be surprised to know actually what they're collecting on people that could be considered
what personal information.
PII. It's more than you think. So it's definitely a worthwhile exercise to map that out, to look at, okay, what do we have? Where does it live? It's a really great exercise to do.
Yeah, well, we went really fast through those 4 security and privacy tasks that you can get done this week. It is obviously Cyber Smart Week this week, so make sure you take some time out and really go through these 4 steps. It won't take you too long, and you can even encourage other people in the business to do it as well.
Absolutely, it's worthwhile doing, and it's worthwhile building this practice, to be honest, into your business on a regular basis. So
it's not just one week.
Take this week to start a practice that you perhaps do once a month, or on the right cadence that works for you. But do it regularly and do it consistently. That's the key. If you need more help with this sort of thinking, at Onwardly, we help businesses build, manage, and scale their entire security and privacy programs. And so this should all be part of really good policy that you have in your business. It should be rolled out and should be part of the business cadences and practices that you already do. There's lots more involved beyond this, which people can apply as well. You can take a 7-day free trial of Onwardly if you like. Just visit onwardly.io and take a look. And if you want some more info, you can reach out to us and chat to us as well. We'd love to hear from you. But for now, take some time this week to really get back to the fundamentals and do those well first and foremost.
Yep, definitely. So this is just one part of your entire security and privacy program, but it's a great place to start. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Phil.
We'll see you next time, and hopefully you got some, hopefully some things you can action from this, and we appreciate your time. We'll talk to you next week. Yeah, and leave a comment if you have any questions for us. Awesome.
Cool.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.